A very good morning to all of my students. My next lecture on the bioinorganic chemistry. So previously I have given the lecture on the essential and non-essential elements present in the bulk amount, trace amount or ultra trace amount. And now with the continuation of the same chapter bioinorganic chemistry, my next lecture is on metalloporphyrins. So before discussing the topic of metalloporphyrins, first of all you must know what do you mean by porphyrins. So basically porphyrins, these are the macrocyclic tetradentate ligands which are made up of 4 pyrrole rings linked together through the methane bases. So methane bases are this much, carbon-carbon double bond. So these are known as a methane bases. And this tetradentate ligand has conjugated double bond as you seen from the left side picture with the 4 nitrogen donor side. So here 4 nitrogen atoms are present. So out of these, 2 of the 4 nitrogens are tertiary. Tertiary nitrogen atoms are these one, N and N, and whereas 2 nitrogen atoms, these are secondary, which are consisting of H atoms. So the tertiary nitrogen atom coordinated by donating the pair of electrons to the metal ion by the coordinate bond, and the other two secondary nitrogen, these lose proton and form the covalent bond. So this is the basic chemistry behind this structure metalloporphyrins, which consists of 4 nitrogens. Out of these, 2 nitrogens are the tertiary nitrogens, and whereas 2 nitrogens are the secondary nitrogen. And the metal ion which form the bond that will help in the formation of this, from this nitrogen it will lead to the formation of the coordinate bond, and whereas this nitrogen it leads to the formation of the covalent bond. And the complexes in which metal ions held in the porphyrin ring system. This is the porphyrin ring system, and here this porphyrin ring system, it consists of the metal ion. So whenever the metal get incorporated into the porphyrin ring, it is known as the metalloporphyrins. So basically general terminology used for this is metalloporphyrins. And the nature of metalloporphyrins, it varies with the nature of metal ion and the type of organic substituents on the porphyrin structure. For example, if I am talking about the metal ion and metal ion of appropriate size, it will sit at the center of the porphyrin ring, which will be surrounded by the 4 nitrogens of the pyrrole and forming the square planar geometry. So here, for this incorporation of the metal ion inside the porphyrin ring, the size of the metal ion is very much crucial, because when the size of the metal ion is smaller than the ideal, then the ring will be reluctant to accommodate precisely the metal ion. And on the other hand, if the size of the metal ion is enough larger than the ideally required, then the transition metal ion, it cannot get fit inside the hole and stays out of the plane of the 4 nitrogen atom. So the size of the metal ion plays an important role for building up the structure of the metalloporphyrins. And its nature, it varies with the nature of metal ion as well as on the type of the organic groups which are attached at the 8 positions of the pyrrole ring around the periphery of the porphyrin. So these all are about the metalloporphyrins. Whenever metal get incorporated inside the porphyrin ring, it is known as a metalloporphyrin. But all the metals that cannot be reside inside the porphyrin and are able to form the structure of metalloporphyrin, because size of the metal ion is very much crucial. And if the size is very small, it will get reluctant, and if the size will get larger, then it will not accommodate inside the porphyrin ring. So the size of the metal ion should be ideal in order to form the metalloporphyrins. And next, these are the two basic examples of the metalloporphyrin. First one is the heme. It is known as an iron porphyrin, which is present in the hemoglobin as well as myoglobin, because here in the porphyrin structure the metal ion includes this iron, so it's an example of hemoglobin and myoglobin. On the other hand, porphyrin ring, it consists of the metal ion magnesium, which is the structure for the chlorophyll. And chlorophyll is known as the magnesium complex of the porphyrin, which plays an important role in the process of the photosynthesis. And the function of chlorophyll molecule is to absorb the photons in the red part of the visible spectrum and pass the energy of excitation to the another system in the reaction chain. On the other hand, the role of magnesium is to make the entire molecule rigid so that energy absorbed is not easily lost. Means magnesium will help in forming the structure rigid, and the energy absorbed will not get easily lost. So this is the basic structures and the examples of the metalloporphyrin ring. One is the heme, which is consisting of the iron, and common examples are hemoglobin and myoglobin, and other example is the chlorophyll, which consists of magnesium as a metal ion inside the porphyrin ring and plays an important role in the photosynthesis, as well as it converts the water and carbon dioxide into the carbohydrates and oxygen in the presence of solar energy. So next is the hemoglobin structure. So hemoglobin, it is a large protein with a molecular weight of about 64,500 and consisting of the 4 subunit, in which one heme group is associated with the protein globin. As hemoglobin, it consists of two words, heme and globin. Heme means red and globin means protein. So basically the color of the blood is red due to the presence of this hemoglobin, and it has an extensive tendency to bind with the oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin. And therefore there are the 4 heme groups which are bonded to the 4 protein chains, and one heme group with its protein is known as its subunit. The 4 subunits are similar, but these are not identical. There is a difference between the similarity and the identical. Similar means these are like with reference to the appearance, they seems to be similar, but they are not identical. Means they do not have any physical or the chemical properties similarities. So these appears to be similar, but these are not identical. And 2 subunits form the alpha chains of 141 amino acids, and while the other 2 chains, it consists of the beta chain of 146 amino acids. So this is the most important part, that hemoglobin, it consists of the 4 side units, out of which 2 subunits are of the alpha chain containing 141 amino acid, and other 2 chain consisting of the beta chains and containing the 146 amino acids. So in spite of this, the basic function of hemoglobin, or known as a globin as a protein, are hemoglobin is very much essential for picking up the oxygen in the lungs and then transmit it to the rest of the body. On the other hand, myoglobin, it accepts the oxygen from the hemoglobin in the muscles. So in the muscles, it is a very important that hemoglobin picks up the oxygen in the lungs, and whereas myoglobin accepts the oxygen from the hemoglobin but in the muscles and store it until the needed for the various energetic processes. Means myoglobin helps in storing of this myoglobin oxygen, and whenever it's needed, it will be used. So deoxygenated hemoglobin, it uses some of its amino acids in order to fix up the carbon dioxide and then transport the carbon dioxide back to the lungs. So this is the whole phenomenon. In the upcoming slides, I will tell you the whole function, or how these are related to each other, how the oxygen will get picked up by the hemoglobin from the lungs and myoglobin by the muscles. So this is the basic structure of the myoglobin, in which myoglobin, it's a relatively small protein of molecular weight 17,000. On the other hand, hemoglobin, it has the molecular weight of 64,500, but myoglobin has the molecular weight of 17,000. It consists of one polypeptide chain with one heme group which is embedded, and here it consists of approximately 150 to 160 amino acid residues which are folded. The iron atoms present at the center of the heme is bonded by the 4 porphyrin nitrogen atoms and one nitrogen atom from the imidazole side chain of the histidine residue. So this is the basic difference lies between the myoglobin and the hemoglobin, that here the iron atom is present at the center of the heme. In both the cases, these are present in the center, but bonded by the 4 porphyrin nitrogen atom in case of the heme. But in case of the myoglobin, the one nitrogen atom from imidazole side chain of histidine residue. So one nitrogen atom will get bonded to the imidazole side, whereas in case of the heme, all the 4 nitrogen atoms are attached to the porphyrin rings. So this is the major difference between the hemoglobin and the myoglobin structure. So next one is the role of hemoglobin and the myoglobin. So hemoglobin and myoglobin both plays an important role in transporting the oxygen from lungs to the tissues and carbon dioxide. So oxygen firstly inhaled into the lungs, and there in case of the lungs, they have the very high partial pressure where it binds with the hemoglobin and forming the oxyhemoglobin. Then oxygen is then transported to the respiring tissue where the partial pressure of oxygen is low. So in case of the lungs, the partial pressure is higher, but in case of the tissues, the partial pressure is low. Then their oxygen get dissociated from the hemoglobin and diffuses to the tissues where myoglobin picks it up and store until it's needed. So what is happening? So in case of the lungs, the oxygen is bonded to the hemoglobin to form the oxyhemoglobin. Then it transported to the tissues, and in the tissues the partial pressure is lower, where it will get dissociated into the hemoglobin and the oxygen. Then that oxygen gets picked up by the myoglobin and it store it whenever it needed. So myoglobin, it has a greater affinity for the oxygen than hemoglobin. Again, this is a very crucial point. Then out of hemoglobin and myoglobin, which is having the greater affinity for the oxygen, so our answer is myoglobin has a greater affinity for oxygen as compared to that of hemoglobin. So this increases the rate of diffusion of oxygen from the capillaries to the tissues. Why so? Because of the solubility reason. And the hemoglobin and carbon dioxide, these return to the lungs when carbon dioxide get exhaled. So this is the basic phenomenon, how the hemoglobin picks up the oxygen and how the myoglobin picks up the oxygen from the lungs or from the tissues where the partial pressure is high, where the partial pressure is low, and why this phenomenon or mechanism is occurring. So this lies behind all role of myoglobin and hemoglobin. So this is the in the form of the picture, and I have taken this picture from the Pradeep's Inorganic Chemistry book only. So this picture depicts that on the left hand side these are the lungs, then blood, and then muscle. So on the lungs, what is happening here, the hemoglobin will bind with the oxygen to form the oxyhemoglobin. Then it moves towards the tissues, which is known as the blood, and here oxyhemoglobin, it will get dissociated into the hemoglobin and the oxygen, and where it picks up by the myoglobin and it will goes into the muscle, because myoglobin will have the more affinity for the oxygen as compared to that of the hemoglobin. And here the partial pressure for the oxygen in case of the lungs is more, that is written as 100 torr, whereas the partial pressure of oxygen in the muscle, it is 20 to 30 torr. So this diagram will be more clear and given in your books, so kindly study this, and this diagram is very important for the whole phenomenon or the mechanism of the binding of oxygen of hemoglobin and the myoglobin. So then next our topic is the cooperativity effect. So myoglobin and hemoglobin, their function and their cooperativity effect. So I already told you that main function of hemoglobin is to bind the oxygen at the higher partial pressure, which then again myoglobin pick up the oxygen from the hemoglobin and then transfer it to the muscles and store it until it is needed. So in the lungs, where the partial pressure of the oxygen is high and much oxygen is bonded, the affinity of heme from the oxygen becomes very high. Myoglobin picks up all the oxygen because of the higher affinity as compared to that of the hemoglobin. So next again important point, since myoglobin, it has only one heme group, whereas it does not have any cooperative binding, so it does not lose its affinity for the oxygen. So this shows that myoglobin has a higher affinity for the oxygen than hemoglobin. So this is the main reason why myoglobin has a higher affinity for the oxygen than the hemoglobin, because it contains only one heme group which does not have any cooperativity binding, so it does not lose its affinity for the oxygen, and it is having the higher affinity for the oxygen as compared to that of the hemoglobin. So these are the equations, how it happening. The reversible binding of myoglobin will get binds to oxygen to form the oxymyoglobin. Then the equilibrium constant is given by the product divided by the reactant. So here the product is oxymyoglobin and reactants are myoglobin and oxygen. So further the equilibrium constant is represented by K, and K is equals to MbO2 upon Mb and O2, and whereas on oxygen we replace this terminology by the P. P means the partial pressure of the oxygen, which I have already discussed, that partial pressure of oxygen in case of the lungs is more and lesser in case of the tissues. So again then this terminology is given as the theta, where theta represents the ratio of the concentration of myoglobin present as MbO2, matlab oxygen, oxymyoglobin, and to the total concentration of the myoglobin. So from these equations, K is equals to, whenever we combine these two equations, first one is this, K is equal to MbO2 by Mb into P, and second one is this, MbO2 upon Mb plus MbO2. Then from these two equations we will get the result, K is equals to theta upon 1 minus theta into P. On rearranging we will get the expression of Kp upon 1 plus Kp. Kp is the equilibrium constant at the partial pressure, and theta is the terminology, that is a fractional oxygen saturation. And again This is the equation for the hyperbolic curve, which shows that the partial pressure of oxygen is increases and more for the oxygen binds to the myoglobin as compared to the hemoglobin, so it will be get reduced to the half. So when the myoglobin is halfly saturated, theta will become 0.5 and the partial pressure of oxygen will become P by 2, means it will become half. So on substituting the value, you will get the expression. So with the continuation of this, 50% saturation K is defined as an inverse of partial pressure of oxygen at 50% saturation. So the expression remains the same, whereas the partial pressure of oxygen in the myoglobin and the hemoglobin, it will change our expression that if the 50% saturation is occurring, then the partial pressure will become half, and it results into the hyperbolic curve and the sigmoid curve. So exact value of N depends upon the pH. So shape of the hemoglobin binding curve is not like the hyperbolic curve. Hemoglobin oxygen binding curve is described by the sigmoid curve, whereas myoglobin oxygen binding curve is described by the hyperbolic curve. And these two curves will represent according to the equation which we discussed earlier. So here these are the two curves. One is the hemoglobin, other is the myoglobin. Here the hemoglobin, it will show the oxygen binding curve which is of the sigmoidal type, whereas the myoglobin oxygen curve is of the hyperbolic term. So next is the Bohr's effect. So Bohr's effect basically is the variation of affinity of oxygen with respect to the pH is known as the Bohr's effect, and according to this effect, the affinity for the hemoglobin will decrease with decrease in the pH, and it is directly proportional to the pH value. However, the blood is buffer, so the decrease in the pH is very small with the accumulation of carbon dioxide in the muscles. And Bohr's effect, it plays an important role in transporting the oxygen from lungs to the respiring tissues and in transporting the carbon dioxide produced back to the lungs, because this phenomenon is occurring again and again from the lungs to the tissues, tissues to the muscles, then again from lungs to the tissues, tissues to the muscles. So this like phenomenon is repeating again and again, and Bohr's effect, it has an important physiological effect as it depends upon the pH. So basically pH is directly proportional to the hemoglobin. If pH get reduced, then the affinity for the hemoglobin for the oxygen will get reduced, but if the pH is more, that is the conditions is alkaline, then the affinity for the hemoglobin for the oxygen will goes on increase. So then carbon dioxide it diffuses from the muscle to the capillaries and dissolve the carbon dioxide, which are forming the bicarbonates very slowly. Again, this picture is taken from your Pradeep's Inorganic Chemistry book itself. So hopefully you will like this lecture. This lecture is basically on the metalloporphyrins only. Earlier I have given the lecture on the essential and trace elements. So these are the two main topics of the bioinorganic chemistry. So whatever your doubts are, all are welcome in the comment box and you can ask me. So thank you very much.